Welcome to Star Trek Enterprise E update number 3. Now, this is the update that I forgot about. I had filmed part of the update and I forgot to post it. I forgot to edit it, I forgot to post it. So this is going to be from quite a while ago because it's been a while since I've actually filmed an update. As you can see behind me, things are a little bit different than what you'll see in the video. But I'm about to film episode number 4, update number 4. So, I'm going to show you a bit around the new studio, I'll let you see what's going on, the updates on the Enterprise. But first, before we get to that update, let's take a look at update number 3. Hey everyone, this is Andrew back with Star Trek Enterprise E update number 3, and as you can see, it's all done. Well, no, it's not all done, but I do have it just test fitted together here, and it's just stuck together with some blue painter's tape just to kind of get a feel for how the major parts go together. I am done the windows, finally. 8 months later, I am done all the windows, but I've got to say, I'm really happy with the way that most of the windows have turned out. There's a couple things that need a little bit of work, but for the most part, I'm really happy with how they've turned out. It's definitely been worth the time and effort in on it. So, loads of windows on the upper primary hall, loads of windows on both sides of the engineering hall, and they are all done. So, the next thing that I have done is let me just pull this apart here. I have sanded the inside of all the windows because when I drilled and cut the holes for all the windows, it left some burrs, some bits of plastic that was just going to possibly get in the way, and I just wanted to get all that cleaned up. So I've just wet sanded the inside with a very fine sandpaper and just got all that cleaned up. Then the other thing that I have done, and some of you might be asking why I cut out every single window on this ship, or almost every single window on the ship, when only 67% of the lights are on at any given time. Well, I want glass in every window. A lot of people will just not cut out pieces or windows that they want black, and they'll just paint black on top of the plastic. I want the look of actually having the clear material in each section so that all the windows look uniform, and then when you turn the lights on, most of those windows are shining, 60 or 70% of them. So what I've done, I haven't seen anybody do this, this is my own ideal, so if it is successful, it's my ingenious plan. If it fails, it's my own fault. So what I have done is on the inside, I have taken black electrical tape and I have masked off the windows that I want to show up as dark. The next stage after this is going to be doing my light blocking painting. And so I have some Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Black that's going to be, actually I'm reading the French side here. Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Painter and Primer 2 times, and I'm going to do black on the inside for my lighting block. And what I am assuming and guessing and hoping is going to happen is that the electrical tape is going to be sealed in by the paint, and that's going to allow me to block the windows successfully from the inside of the ones I want dark, leave the ones I want light open, so that when after I've done the primer gray with my Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2 times Ultra Cover Rust-Oleum Gray on the outside, and I've got my base color on that I want with my airbrush, then I'll be able to go in and I'll fill in with microcrystal clear the windows. I know that with having the tape on the back, there's going to be some paint buildup on the windows that are blocked, and I'll have to go in and I'll have to clean those out. But I think that this is going to give me the look that I want. I want every window to be glassed in, but I also want only about 70% of the windows or 60% of the windows lit. And I think that this is going to give me that look that I'm looking for. Like I said, I haven't seen anybody else do it, so if it works, it's kudos to me. If it fails, I've only got myself to blame. This might overexpose the camera, but you can see that some of those are blocked, and I think that's going to give it a really nice look. So that's the work that I have done. I have all the windows cut. Oh, and the pylons are falling off. These kind of just sit on there. All the windows in the secondary hull are cut and blocked with the tape. I'm not going to block any of the ones on the bottom because there's so few windows on the bottom of the primary hull. I want every one of those to shine through. But I've got a good number blocked on here. The other thing that some people do is where there's a group of 2 windows together or a group of 3 windows or something like that. Sometimes they'll block one of the windows out of those. That doesn't look right because I think that the windows that are close together are part of the same room, and if you block one window and not the other and they're super tight together, it's like half the room is dark. And I think that looks a little odd. So I've tried to go through and block full rooms, if that makes sense, and leave full rooms lighted. And I've just kind of tried to go through and figure out, okay, what could be individual rooms? Because if there's a section where there's 3 windows all together, I'm assuming that those are for the same room. And so you don't want to just block the window in the middle of those 3, because otherwise you've got pretty narrow rooms on a starship this size. So it's looking good, windows are looking good, the sanding went really well, it's cleaned up really nicely, I've got my windows blocked, and so my next step is to actually get started into the painting. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my light blocking done on the inside of the primary hull, inside of the secondary hull. The other thing that I need to do, let me just get one of these nacelle pylons off here. These just go together. Let's see. Is this the part that goes here? Yeah, these are the right ones. So these two go together, but they're flat on the inside. There is no space to run wires. And it's going to be, this just kind of sits on top of here, and there's no really good natural place to kind of run wires through. I'm assuming that they weren't expecting people to go through the trouble of lighting this. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get a trench into this pylon, and I mean, let me turn the lights back on here again. You can see the detail on the other side through this plastic. It's not very thick, and there's not, the other side isn't very thick either, so I'm going to have to be very careful when I am cleaning out the trench. I'm going to have to really think long and hard about where I put the trench inside of this and where the wires are going to run. So I'm not going to touch painting the pylons until I have some wire and I've got a basic lighting configuration worked out and I know exactly where I want to run the wires. And then at that point I will very carefully create a trench for the cables to go through there. So I'm not going to touch painting the pylons until such time as I have figured out the lighting part of that. And so pylons are not going to be touched. Let me just pull this apart. I'm not using sand. It's a solid post here, and I'm going to be running wires down through the support post, and so I'm not going to be using the one provided. And I think I want to, where is, oh, there it is. I think I want to do a nice wooden base for this. Not a big one, but a nice one. And I also need space to put control boards into the base. As a wise modeler once said, never put your control boards inside your starship. Put them in the base where you can easily access them, and replace them if needed. And so I'm going to be taking that wise advice and putting my control boards in the base. So I'm going to need some space for that. I bought a compilation of all the Star Trek movies, all the real Star Trek movies on DVD, and I've been going through First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis to get some good views of the ship. And something really interesting about the lighting that I noticed. On the primary hull, you've got a combination of strobes and you've got a combination of navigation lights. And so your navigation lights are green on starboard and red on port on either side, with your strobe just behind the bridge, strobe underneath on the front. But when I was watching First Contact, and I was really watching closely to the passes of the ship, and First Contact is the only movie that used a physical model of the Enterprise E. They used a combination of physical models for the close-up and CG for faraway shots. But Nemesis and Insurrection both used strictly computer-generated versions of the Enterprise, and that's why they all kind of look a little bit different. So on First Contact, I was watching, paying attention for the lights, and I was watching the port and starboard navigation lights on the saucer, and there were blinking strobes, and I was really confused because I know that it's red on the port side, green on the starboard side. It's always that way, but I saw flashing, strobing white lights, and so I play it over those shots where it comes right over, and you get some really good views. And I always wondered on this model where the navigation lights go. There are two bumps molded into the detail. I was curious why there were two bumps. Well, turns out that in First Contact, there is a constant, non-flashing, red on port, green on starboard. But along with that, there is also a strobe light, strobing white light. So they've got two lights on each side where the navigation lights go. It is so small in here that it's going to be a trick just to get the green on one side and the red on the other, let alone the colored light plus the flashing strobe light. And I'm sure there are modelers who are far better than I am who would say, oh yeah, that's no problem. But that's not me. I'm going to be lucky just to get this lighted. It's my first one. So I was like, man, this is going to be way too hard to do. But then I watched Insurrection, and lo and behold, on the CG model, all it was the red on this side and the green, no strobing. So I'm going to take that as license to ignore the strobe at the navigation light points. And I will do the strobe on the just at the very back of the bridge. I'll do it on the front, and there's a few locations on the engineering hull and on the warp nacelles that have the strobing lights, and those will be there. I'm going to try to do that myself rather than ordering a board. I got to learn some electronics. It's going to be fun. Yeah, lots of fun. And do that, but I'm only going to do red, green, not the flashing strobe lights. So, with that said, I'm going to move on to painting. And so I'm going to take a break. I'm going to set up a makeshift painting booth. And I'm going to do that. Oh, the other thing I want to show you here, just before I get into the painting, is this was a product that was recommended by several YouTube model makers, and that is Duplicolor Adhesion Promoter. And what I understand is that when you put this on the exterior of your hull, and before you do your painting, before you do your primering, it's basically a pre-primer. When you're doing masking for Aztec patterns and any other masking that you're going to do, it helps prevent the paint underneath the tape from pulling when you remove it. And I'm not good enough with the painting to be able to repairing that. I don't think so. I am definitely investing in the adhesion promoter so that my paint that goes on will stick and will not pull. So that is my progress so far. I'm going to take a break, set up a paint station, and I will show you the results of my progress.